PTF and JK, I'm as excited for this video as any video we've done. Really cool idea that JK had. And let me tell you, it's not just a gimmick. You can actually make $100,000 on this horse race. The pool in particular, to take a shot at doing it after the historical research we've done, is the super high five pool. Yes, the magnitude of difficulty of hitting this bet, it ain't easy. But we didn't tell you were going to be able to make 100,000 easily. We told you you had a shot at making 100K. How psyched are you to put some tickets together for the people here, JK?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, I think everyone looks for the Kentucky Derby as this kind of lifetiming score opportunity, whether you're a novice player, a new player, seasoned vet. For us, it's these situations where there's so much money in the pool. These are the chances to really jump up and grab them and make $100,000. Pete, I've been fortunate enough to walk out of Churchill Downs with over 100 grand before. It was a ton of fun. And I'd like for that to happen again. But I'd also like for someone else to experience it as well.
That's a good point. I should have put that in my intro. We'll call that one a little subtle host fail to get things started here. So we started off by saying we need somebody who is a terrific horse player who understands math a little bit better than we did. Going in, we weren't sure which pool we would be advising. We were thinking maybe it's the superfecta and hitting it multiple times. We said we need somebody who's a true expert on these stuff. We came up with Eric Bialik. Eric is a terrific horse player. He, at the time that he qualified for the big tournament out in Las Vegas that shall not be named for the first time, I believe was the youngest player to do so. He then separately a few years later had a huge score, finishing in the top 10 at the final table in the tournament that shall not be named. Eric, thank you so much for the work you did. I took the observations you made, and I've made sort of a top 10 observations about the Derby Super High Five we're going to share with you. We'll start off with the fact that $5,800 is the worst this bet has paid in the last 10 years. There was another year where it was $6,000, but JK, these prices were truly anomalies. When you were looking at it, you had some terrific piggyback on that stat.
Yeah, well, we'll start with 2015. That was American Pharaoh's year where he was the favorite, pretty heavy favorite. He was 5-2. And Dortmund, who was the second choice at 3-1, ran third. Firing Line was second, was a very likely horse in that race people liked. Frosted, another horse people liked, ran fourth. So that had a lot to do with it. When the favorite wins and the second choice hits the board, it makes it a little bit harder to get that big score in the Super High Five. But as you've seen, it doesn't happen very often. In the second time that it happened in 2016, Nyquist won the race. Exaggerator, second choice, ran second. And then Gunrunner, third choice, ran third. Mohayman, fourth choice, ran fourth. And then Sudden Breaking News was 20-1, who ran fifth. So when it's extremely, extremely formful like this, it can be a little bit challenging. But it is definitely still a nice score. There's nothing wrong with getting $6,000 back on what looks like a maybe $500, $600 investment.
Yeah, with 4 of the 5 choices in. Now, those aren't the tickets we're going to try to be putting forth here. But to me, the lesson, and this gets us right to our second observation, even on a ticket with a lot of the favorites, the bet is so inefficient, you can still do okay. So you can almost have like this safety net fallback type of plan. So why is the bet inefficient? Well, this gets to our third observation. And what we believe the case is that the sharpest bettors, the computer bettors, appear to play in this bet less, presumably because it's so hard to model, especially with its $1 minimum. It's a very hard bet to just try to buy the pool and create efficiencies, betting the right amounts. It seems to us, to this point in time anyway, JK, that this is not where the computer bettors are spending most of their money on Derby Day.
Yeah, so I think that leaves a lot of meat on the bone for the average player. And there's also just a lot of people kind of throwing out lottery tickets in a situation like this. There's a lot of what they would like to call dead money in the pool. So if you can take an educated guess and get involved here with some good ticket construction, you can put yourself in a pretty nice opportunity to make a score.
My next observation looking at this, and I haven't even talked with Eric about this, but I think it's right. This feels like a really good bet to play in conjunction with other exotics. I'll get to this a little bit more when we get to the specifics of the tickets that I want to put forward. But the idea is maybe look to cover some combinations in exactas, some combinations in trifectas, probably for me, a lot of combinations in trifectas. You can also use the superfecta pool. You can use other pools in cooperation with what you're doing in the Super High Five. Now, you don't have to do that to take advantage of these inefficiencies. You can just take a shot, set aside your sort of lottery money for the year or whatever, and take a swing in these pools. But there are ways, as a serious horse player, that you can give yourself a little bit of a chance by looking at multiple pools in this spot. Is that something you might consider doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's just one of those situations. You take a little bit of a shot. You still want to get involved with the exacta and the trifecta, and also the multi-race bets, the pick six. Probably another opportunity in fairness to make $100,000 or more. That was a big part of when I had that big pop American Pharaohs year. Pick six, pick five, hitting lots of different wagers throughout the day. But yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely mix and match.
Now, if the favorite wins, and this is a year where we've had 82 YouTube videos where we've talked about the fact that we do really respect, if not, really want to key this favorite, it does change things a little. To get to 100,000 on a $1 bet, you're probably, looking at the historical data, going to need 3 other prices to get there. But as we go down the line to our further observations, there may even be an exception to that. Jonathon, on one of his tickets later, is going to try to hit it multiple times. For me, I have this cheeky idea, and we'll get to it right away with our next observation. I believe that there's added value to getting your outsized price in this race in the second and third position as opposed to the fourth and fifth. I think there's a sort of a master of the obvious way of building these tickets where people, you have your keys and your logicals, and then they say, I don't know who's going to run fourth and fifth, spready spread. And I think that is another thing that just leads to the inefficiencies that Eric observed when looking back at these pools historically. We'll get right to the next observation, which is that fifth place really appears to matter the least. In other words, a favorite in fifth is going to pay much more like a long shot than you would think at first blush. Why is this? I think it's because people overspread in this fifth spot. That's what the crowd does. That's not something that either of us, JK, are going to tell people to do when we get down to our tickets. We have slightly different approaches, but I think we're united in the idea of all in fifth place in the super high five. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to decide which way you want to try to attack it. You have to make a decision. For me, we'll get to it, my attack is going to be that fierceness is going to run well. Now, the other way you can do that is fierceness doesn't run well at all, which makes it significantly more easy to get to that $100,000 mark when fierceness is not in the top 5. I don't think that's going to happen. However, if you believe that's going to happen, that is one way to tackle it.
And this next conclusion, very much related to the one we just talked about, logical contenders in fifth, and I think by extension fourth, are still going to be able to play well. That's key to the bets that I'm going to share with you in a minute. We do believe it's worth wading into these difficult waters of the super high five, despite the level of difficulty. That's the next observation because of all of this we're saying. It's really a bet that happens once a year where you get this going. And look, if the numbers we're talking about are out of range with the rest of your budgets, our final observation, this is a great ticket to play with partners, a way that you can have a chance to have an outsized score. And plus, it's so much fun to win with other people. JK, I know the partner tickets are something that you're a big fan of.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to do it, you're going to a Kentucky Derby party, you're going to the Derby with your friends, whatever it might be, or you're just a bunch of degenerate fellas that want to get involved. Get a couple $100 from everybody, get $500 from everyone. Get 10 people where you have a $5,000 swing. Now you can take a super high five box in that situation if you wanted to cover lots of different combinations and look at it in that arena where it's part of your portfolio for the day, but you're not taking that big swing all by yourself.
And I will say, generally speaking, I would observe that you're better off doing some sort of laddered key type approach like the ones we're going to talk than boxing. Boxing just gets so expensive in a race like this. I mean, you can do the math of what it takes to box 5 horses, and it ain't pretty, especially as you start adding runners, and you just have to be so right. I think that's why we're taking the approach that we'll get to in just a minute time here. Before we get to that, do want to encourage folks to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of the great Kentucky Derby content we have coming down the line, including our final answer show. And if you want the absolute best info we have on everything related to the Kentucky Derby, there's a ton that's free. But if you want to support the channel and get even more, check out our In the Money Plus service, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. That's going to have grid picks from the whole team, extra podcasts covering every single race this year on Oaks and Derby Day, as well as much more specific betting advice. inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Speaking of specific betting advice, this is where the rubber meets the road, JK. Let's have you talk us through. We'll show it up on screen with the numbers that you're going to be betting with this first $3 ticket, but talk us through very quickly the horses as well.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Fierceness on top. I'm going to try to hit this first ticket for $3, meaning that I'm going to need the original dollar to pay about $33,000 to get to that 100. But I'm hopeful that can happen. I'm going to have Fierceness on top, the 17 horse. I'm going to make him kind of my single top key there. In second place, I'm going to put the logical horses that I think can run in second. Those horses being 2, Sierra Leone, the 8, Just a Touch, and the 11, Forever Young. I'm going to use those horses to run in second. In third place, I'm going to use kind of logical long shots. One of them's not necessarily a long shot, but I had to put him somewhere, so he kind of fell in that category. The 4, Catching Freedom. And then I'm going to use Domestic Product, the 15. And then I worked backwards on you there a little bit and skipped one. And then I'll also use 7, Honor Marie. Sorry, I'm looking at the missing number. So I'm going to use 4, 7, and 15 in the third spot, excuse me. And you can see that on the screen there. And then I'm going to use all of those horses. Those 6 horses I'll use in fourth and fifth place. And I'm going to try to hook that thing up for $3, like I said. Now, look, if I come up a little bit short, the thing pays, an all-time worst like we've seen. It pays $7,000 at the end of the day. I'm going to walk away with $21,000 on this investment. I don't necessarily have a problem with that.
It's you one of your things you love to say on our various In the Money Media business meetings: shoot for the stars, land in the clouds. That is a potential backup situation with the way you've approached it here, but I think there's some clever things that you have cooking. You can see how the math works out on the screen: 1 times 3 times 3 times 4 times 3, I believe. Anyway, it'll be up on the screen. We'll double check the math. I don't want to do that extemporaneously and get it wrong. Then you had a couple of other backup tickets, Jonathan. One backup ticket, very, very straightforward. You simply switched where you have the logicals and where you have the quote unquote long shots in your betting order. You can see that one up on the screen as well. And then you did something that I think is cheeky, and who knows, maybe it'll pay off big time for you. For me, I see Fierceness, and I might play a set of tickets with Fierceness winning, and I might play a set of tickets with just something goes wrong, as it has before with him, and he's nowhere. You do have him backed up in second place. I thought that was an interesting decision you made. I want you to tell us about it.
Yeah, I backed him up in second place, but I only backed them up with the long shot types, right? The Catching Freedoms, the Honor Maries, and the Domestic Products, because I don't think it's going to get to 100,000 if the Sierra Leones of the world or the Just the Touches or the Forever Youngs run first and Fierceness run second. It's in a struggle to get to that $100,000 mark, so I wanted to go ahead and put the long shots first, Fierceness in second, then the logicals in third, and then all of those horses that we talked about in fourth and fifth for $1 each. So that's going to be my way. I'm going to try to get to $100,000. The other way is just very simple, right? If you just take Fierceness out and you approach it in a very similar way, throw in and sprinkle a couple of extra horses, you're suddenly going to get there very easily. Any dollar super high five that Fierceness is not in the top 5 will pay over $100,000.
That sounds about right to me. Even though he does have that win or run out nature, I still think you're probably right about that. Just use the structures that we're giving you and plug in your own horses. That's the idea. We want this to be a collaborative effort. Of course, I should have been doing this in the other YouTube videos we recorded today, JK. I did forget this one. Call for comments. Give us your $100,000 super effective ticket in the comments. If you don't want to do all the math, etc., just let us know who your key horses are going to be in a bet like I said super effective, the super high five. That's the bet we're focusing on in this video. But let us know what your betting approach is going to be. We'd love to get a conversation going. We've had some robust debate and some fun back and forth in these comments. Let's keep it going here. Last thing, let me show you my ticket. Very similar to you on top, JK. Fierceness is there. But then here's what I did, which I thought was maybe a little counterintuitive enough to get us to a big number while not taking me out of my comfort zone. I'm going to play the long shots that we mentioned in our long shot videos here on the YouTube channel. Go and find those. Check out, we got hours worth of Kentucky Derby content. If you want to keep poking around, subscribe to In the Money Media so you don't miss a thing. So my cluster of long shots that I'm going to play in second and third to Fierceness: Honor Marie, Domestic Product, Resilience, Encino, and Grand Mo. I'm going to play that combination of 5 in second and third. And then here's my little contrarian idea. Put the logicals, the horses that I think a lot of people are going to be putting second and third, put them fourth and fifth. And for me, that's Sierra Leone, Catching Freedom, Just a Touch, and Forever Young. You put it all in the hopper, it comes out as a $240 play. Yeah, it's a little illogical in the sense of, having horses that I think might be more likely winners only in fourth and fifth. That's where a bet like the trifecta might come in or the exacta might come in. You can use these other pools to cover it and still give yourself an opportunity to make a very big score on one of horse racing's very biggest days. A closing thought from you, JK, before we wrap this one.
Yeah, have fun, enjoy it. It's a great day. It's America's greatest pastime, in my opinion. Watching these horses get in the starting gate, enjoy it with friends, and like I said, it's an outstanding moment and an opportunity for a life-changing score. See if you can't go get one.
For JK, I'm PTF. May you win all your Kentucky Derby Super High Five photos.